Harvey. I'm your host of the Modern Conservative Podcast. It's been a while. It's been months. I haven't done any podcasting, so I got to get reacclimated. Now I'm doing video, and before I was doing audio, and this is something new to me. So today I have two special guests. They're running for school board district. Is it Murray City?
So
April?
I'm running, I'm April Despain. I'm running for Murray City School Board on District 3.
And you're running?
Laurel Fetzer. I'm running for the state school board in District 5.
Yeah. So Laurel, let's get back to what got you into running for city council? School board council.
April. Right.
I told you it's been a while. Luckily, I can edit this.
So what got me into running was a book called Call Me Max that was read to my son's third grade classroom. And it talks about transgender identity, and I was just shocked to find out that kind of stuff was being discussed with third graders in Murray School District, and definitely got me involved in the school issues and asking questions, what's going on, and discovered a lot of things happening in our district that really surprised me. And from then on, I've just been pushing back and trying to figure out how to keep schools focused on academics rather than identity.
Mm-hmm. And Laurel, you?
Well, the reason I got into this was because of April.
I remember speaking to both of you the very first time, months ago. And at that time, I don't think you guys were running, were you? No.
We
not yet.
weren't.
We just were working on a video. But when all the election stuff was coming up, they were like, we need somebody to run in District 5 for the state school board. And I was like, well, it's probably a pretty good time for me as a mom. My 4 kids are almost done with school. My youngest is a senior this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, I could put my name in and I could run. So I've been doing that. And here we go.
How is it running?
I don't think I want to do it again, but so far we're, making it work.
Is it because it's intrusive in your personal life, or is it just because it's a chore to become elected?
There's a lot more to it than I think I planned. So I guess I haven't liked the disconnect between what I thought it was and what I have needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe next time, well, I don't really.
Next time? I did catch that. Next time?
Anyway, it's a 4-year thing, so hopefully in 4 years we can have things turned around if I make it in.
Now, April, what about you? How has it been for you?
Well, it's definitely been like a roller coaster, I would say, because I get negative feedback and I get positive feedback, and it's the issues going on in schools are, pretty heated. And a lot of very divided opinions, and
Right.
you get those politicians who are like, I just want to bring people together and I just want to be reasonable. I want to be the reasonable voice out there. And my question to that is, how do you bring people together? How do you be a reasonable voice in the middle when people have very extreme opposite end opinions on something in one precinct? They're very divided. So as a school board candidate, I have been very upfront about where I stand on the issues, and my attitude is, if you agree with me, vote for me. If you don't vote for me. And I'm okay with not winning. If I don't win, then I know the majority doesn't agree with me, and that's that's how I feel that running for office should work. I don't think we should play this game of like, I just won't say where I stand. But yeah, I've gotten negative and positive feedback both, and it's definitely been a roller coaster of dealing with the negative and positive different feedback.
So, you mentioned some issues. What are some of the issues that you're fighting for or you're against in your particular district?
Well, like I mentioned, just teaching about identity in schools and promoting certain identity ideologies.
CRT?
Right.
SEL?
Critical race theory, intersectionality, social emotional learning, which has all that embedded in there. Just like pride flags and Black Lives Matter flags around the schools and all that kind of stuff that I'm like, what does this have to do with reading, writing, math, science? I think schools should be focused on academics. When I send my children to school, I don't expect them to be getting lessons on this is what your identity is. Do an identity map and tell me what this means and tell me what that means. And I've literally seen those lesson plans in my children's schools.
What school district again?
Murray City School District.
Is that MURRAY school district here in
Right.
Utah?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's here in Utah. And so, yeah, those are the kind of things that I'm
Bugging.
against.
Laurel, and you, what's in your school district? Same issues?
So my district is really big. The state school board has 15 members in it. And so each area, like my area covers Murray School District and Granite School District. I think that's all, but all on the west side. So my area it covers most of Murray and South Salt Lake, West Salt Lake, and most of West Valley goes to like 5600 West. So, yeah, I come to the state school board trying to bring more conservative voice to say we need to really, put on the brakes and try to bring our focus back onto academics and try to help our teachers teach, do what they've been asked to do and not put more on their plate, try to simplify their role so they're better at teaching. And also, I really want to bring transparency back or improve it so that our parents know what's being taught and there's really good transparency between schools, teachers, and the parents.
So here it is. Here we are in 2022. Why is it you think the schools are so anti-conservative thinking now? Either one of you.
Well, one thing I've learned is that we have a lot of schools that are educating our teachers that are left-leaning. Universities. And even some of the other, I guess, private schools that they have questions for their teachers that politically lean left when they have to do their teaching exam. So that's something I don't know that I can affect as a school board member, but it would be really nice to see more conservative or right-leaning schools getting our teachers into the teaching profession.
Right, and also like the teachers union obviously leans left.
Right.
And I know some conservative teachers who have said I don't even feel comfortable joining the UEA because or
whichever their school district, like Murray has an
because
MEA and
I
Granite
disagree
has
so firmly against what they are all about, and I think that's a big part of it. So, but there are conservative teachers, and Laurel and I both have had teachers reach out to us who are grateful for the work that we're doing and are hoping that we will be elected. So I think that's an issue here, that there are teachers who feel not represented and not heard in their own school districts, and those are the kind of teachers that we also hope to represent. It's not, a lot of people try to make this a parent versus teacher issue, and I do not see it that way. I think this is an issue of focusing on academics and what schools should really be about. And there's a lot of teachers who agree with that, and I know that.
Yeah.
With my organization that I co-founded, Cafe, we're going to do things that, how do I say this without revealing our hands? We're going to do things that stand out when
Nice.
it comes to our schools. Because I, too, have a bad taste for our school districts.
And you had a daughter in Murray School District, right?
I do.
Still?
no
She
longer.
still is?
No, she's no
Oh,
longer.
she's not.
No, she's no longer in the Murray School. That's MURRAY School District, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's where she was, but she's no longer
Right,
there.
and that was one of the things when we talked to you several months ago that we were like,
Yep.
what? You have a kid in our district? You got to get informed about what's going on in our schools. Because, a lot of people didn't know what was going on in
Yeah,
Murray District.
my problem was, one day I'm walking through the school, I'm taking my daughter to the classroom because she had just broken her hip. So I'm pushing her in a wheelchair to her classroom. And usually I just walk straight to the classroom, put her on her desk, kiss her, love you, see you later, blah, 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 blah. So this particular morning I'm walking through, and I happen to look in a classroom. I see a wall of books of just black kids
And
on the cover.
This is McMillan
This is
Elementary.
McMillan Elementary. So I said, I'm going to have a conversation. So I go and I put Caitlin in her office, in her classroom. I walk back and I speak to the principal there. I said, actually, no, wrong. I speak to the secretary initially, and I could tell she was an absolute liberal. And so the principal came out, She says, how can I help you, John? I says, we got to have a talk. I said, can you walk with me? So we walked down to this particular classroom. I said, what's this crap? She looked at me as if, because I'm black, I'm supposed to already know. Because what she didn't know, I was a conservative. And I was a conservative with a very big mouth. Mm-hmm. So I said, do you think this is cool? She says, oh, we love it. We love equity. I said, wrong word. I said, wrong word. And she says, what do you mean wrong word? I said, I don't support this. She said, you don't support this? I said, that, and I don't support rainbows in schools. I don't support Black Lives Matter in schools. I don't support CRT and SEL. She says to me, CRT doesn't exist. I said, it doesn't exist in a liberal's mind. And she says, what do you mean? She said, I said, because you people tell yourselves anything and you will believe it. And then you will practice it because you're naive about it, or you're in the dark about it, or you're too emotional about it, or you're a bunch of powder puffs, and everybody wants to get along. So I go, and the teacher that her classroom, this stuff is not in her classroom. It was because I found out the teacher that was actually teaching her, she was conservative. She
in your daughter's class.
In her classroom was conservative.
Right.
She didn't have these books on the wall promoting, equity. Because, and I didn't really think about it until we spoke on the phone. Because when we had the conversation, it just triggered me. And, and then I just started looking. In a good way. In the right way. Mm-hmm. And so she's no longer there.
Your daughter. My
daughter's no longer there because, I cannot be a hypocrite. I can't tell other people, how they should not put their kids in some of these public schools and then leave mine in one of Murray District's worst schools as far as I'm concerned. Because here's what's crazy, too. One day I went to go pick my daughter up, and they had put rainbows signs along the sidewalk.
Really?
Oh, yeah, and then it had stuff like appreciation, it had diversity, and it had some other stuff that are all equity-based, diversity-based, inclusion-based kind of propaganda.
Right, which those words have double meaning. So, of course, on their face, they sound positive.
Sweet.
Right. But when you look into it, a lot of things are quite hypocritical,
Mm-hmm. Here's a question. On my previous show today that I was on, We Are the People, one of the questions is this. Why do you think they're coming after our kids in the manner that they're coming after them, after the kids? Do you think they have an agenda?
They must. I mean, if you look at all of the history of trying to change countries and patterns, they always go through the children to change their thinking. And a lot of it wants to go against their parents so that they think their parents don't understand what they're going through. So they do this, I don't know. I think I've done a little learning about Mao's China, that they created a black and a red class, and they started saying, well, you can get out of the black class if you can become more of a victim,
or become an ally.
Yeah, become an ally. So if you were a landowner or a business owner or someone successful, they were put in the black class. But if they were lower class, they were put in the red, and they're like, you want to be in the red. So they did all of this cultural division with the children so that they could change the culture and anyway,
and gain power
over them. So
because once they separate the bond between children and parents, who do the children look to for counsel and for direction?
The schools and the people that are closest to them.
The government, the schools, So I think if you're gonna point to an agenda, that's definitely one of the things that concerns me is, when I send my kids to school, I'm like, why are you teaching them these things that have nothing to do with academics? That's my job as a parent. And then when I see in the social emotional learning lessons that they're directing them to teachers rather than parents when they have issues, why not go to your parent? Or these ideas that parents aren't safe if they don't agree.
And they don't even include parents in the discussion. They like take them out of the discussion altogether in the social emotional learning lessons. That's what we've seen in the information that we've gotten. So it's really quite an interesting, like, they definitely are trying to change the hearts and minds of our children. And they want to do it as early as they can.
I mean, let's face it, that's the best. I mean, that's, if you want to train a child, I use the word train a child to think a certain way, you get him when he's young.
Right.
And the cold hard fact is that your teachers have more attention time with your child than most parents, because most parents have to work. You know, so they don't have time to sit around and talk about a lot of the things that they're talking about in the school. And not only that, some parents are in touch. I mean, they're not in touch with what goes on with their child's education. I mean, the parents think they do a good job just enough sending them to school.
Well, so when my kids were in Murray District, because I also have removed mine, I'm homeschooling now. And where'd you put your daughter?
She goes to Ascent Academy.
Okay, so she's, not that you have to say exactly where, but you took her out and you put her in either a private or a charter or something. And
A charter that does not practice CRT, SEL, because I spoke to the chancellor point blank, and I gave him a business card. And I says, this is who I am, and if you're doing crazy stuff, the whole state's going to know about it in the country.
Yeah.
He says, I don't do that. We don't do that here.
Good. And so that's one of the big issues, is that parents are taking their children out. And it's, I think, contributing to the decline of public education. When you have the responsible parents who are saying, you know, because like Laurel was a big volunteer she still is in Murray District. I tried to be involved in my children's classrooms as much as I could. You know, with COVID, they wouldn't let me in the building, which is when this all happened. They wouldn't let me in the building. I never met my children's teachers, except my son was in a Spanish program. I did meet the Spanish teacher once, but I didn't meet the English teacher in person. I wasn't allowed in his classroom, so I didn't see what was going on. And then when he comes home, he has his Chromebook, and everything's done on his Chromebook. There's no homework. I don't see what's going on, you know, and that's one of the issues, that parents don't know what's going on in their children's classroom. So when I found out, I'm like, okay, what? And then I started diving deeper into what was really happening in our district, and it was just shocking. God, there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot.
You know,
But I think that if it wasn't my last year in Murray School District, I think I would have been done as well.
would you?
But it was one of those things, I'm like, she's a senior, you know, and we've done a lot of more classes where we've done correspondence courses, and we're going to do that again this term. She's maybe a couple of classes where she'd rather do it through the mail than with the teacher that she has. So
I remember what I was going to say. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Go, no, you can. No, you're not.
I was going to say that I think some teachers, their hands are tied. So I wouldn't say that this is all like teachers just want to do this, and like SEL, you know, it's required. All the teachers have to do second step in Murray District. So regardless of their feelings, I know I don't know which district, but there was a teacher who left over second step in another district. So he didn't really have a choice. It was either you do it or you leave. And he left. And I think there's other teachers who feel their hands are tied when you got a memo that comes in and says, because that's what happened in our district, we had a memo that came out and said, we are doing equity and we are focusing on all these different things, and that's how it's happening. What do the teachers do? They got to keep their jobs. So I think there's a balance there where some teachers feel their hands are tied, and then there are some who do want this stuff.
Well, let me add one thing that I think is relevant to this discussion is the ESSR funding that came through the federal government through the COVID relief money, because they're like, oh, we're going to get all this money for our school district for whatever we think is important. They send out emails to all the parents about where do you think this money should go, and then their response when they get the parent feedback is, well, we're going to use it for this, and then this amount of money is going to be used for social and emotional learning because that's part of the
Federal mandate.
federal mandate through that funding.
It was either 15 or 20%, I can't remember, but it was required to go
I thought it was
to
more
SEL.
like 35, but
So there was a percentage of that funding that had to go to SEL or CRT or.
and we
Right.
got a whole new like English language arts program paid for with that money, and in all the options that are, we have parents that went through each option of the books, and all 7 of them had different types or different amounts of critical race theory and social justice stories and lessons that were part of this new curriculum.
Right. Do you remember?
So it's not all of it, but which one they went with,
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
it'll come to me.
So speaking of books, you hear the big issue around the state right now, books in kids' libraries in the school, kids learn anything on adult lifestyles and behaviors. Have you ever come across that yourselves?
We have a dad in our parent group who went through all of our libraries and found over 130 books.
And he had to stop. He could have found way more, but he's like, I just got to stop somewhere. So yeah.
He did a review of each book so that everyone who questioned the book could go and look at what is actually the content of the book, because we get all of this accusation that we are banning books,
Right.
and people are like, no, you just are book banners. But if they look at the content of it, it's adult sexual content.
Even if you ask me, some of it is even outrageous for adults. I don't want to look at that. Like one of the books.
I'll never be old enough for that.
Yeah, one of the books that's come up in my campaign is the book called Flamers by Mike Curato, which is in Murray District right now, and it has some images of a child watching pornography naked and masturbating.
I've
Images
seen this one.
of it. I mean, they're drawn, they're depictions.
Right.
So. But I got these people who are saying like, well, you're taking it out of context and you got to read the whole book and it actually is appropriate for junior high and high school kids because of the whole story. And I'm like, no, there's no context for me that I want my kids looking at an image of a naked child masturbating. And the fact that you're defending this is all I need to know. And as a candidate, I make no apologies. I'm not one of these people, who, like you said, powder puff. I'm not one of these people who's
April
like,
is not powder.
who's like, oh, I just want to be nice. No. When it comes to my kids, you want to
You're
show them
exactly
images
right.
of a kid masturbating? No. I'm not having it, and I'm going to fight it, and I make no apologies for that.
I have Representative Ken Ivey on my show. This was just a Zoom a few days ago. I had to make some concessions for him because he's really busy and he's running for his election. So we're on a Zoom, and he was showing me some pictures when he shared his screen. It's some of the most hideous things I've ever seen
Really is.
in schools. And, and you just mentioned something about people who defend this. Those are the people I question who you really are.
Yeah.
Are you, or what they call it, minor attraction, MAP, mad person,
A pedophile.
or pedophile? Are you one of those? See, that's where my mind goes. When people start defending this stuff, as a dad, I always said, God has a funny way of giving insane men daughters.
I got 5 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have 2 of them.
Well, and one thing that I've learned in this whole thing is that there are certain lines that we need to draw in education. There are certain things that should not be part of it. And if we're making negotiations for things, it's not appropriate. We need to make sure that we have bright lines for what education is for, and not just that we're going to create social change, right? That education has a role for developing children and helping them to gain skills that will help them as they grow.
Speaking of red lines, it seems to me that people are afraid to draw that red line. People think they need to go along with this crazy crap that's going on this planet today, especially when it comes to our kids. It's almost like these people don't have children.
Yeah.
It's like they
I
don't
worry
have
that
children.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me, because they can justify some of the most heinous things that go on in our schools or in school books, and
Well,
they can justify it.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed is that there's a window of fantasy that comes in, and maybe it's because we have somebody taught me I listened to a podcast about luxury beliefs, that because we have so much time free time and time on screens or time in computers, that you can go into the fantasy land, but those ideas do not hold in the actual real world. So it's like we're trying to create things that don't live in the actual world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was a very clear statement, but
I follow you. I mean, but here's the thing, though. Pedophilia, it's almost like it's trying to be, I mean, well, the people that are pushing pedophilia and the acts that go along with being a pedophile, they're pushing as if it's supposed to be some kind of new lifestyle.
Yeah.
We're supposed to say, it's okay, or you better accept this, or we're going to cancel you. Well, you can't cancel me anyway because I don't play the cancel game, so that's not going to work here. But it's almost as if...
But it's like the children don't exist either.
Right.
The children who are part of that world are very affected. It ruins their life. And that's something we need to protect. That's part of the bright lines that I think we need to have, that we maintain children's innocence. And that's one thing that we do as a school, is that we help with that, and we make sure that as we have minors in our schools, that we make sure we protect them.
Yeah, you know, one of the comments I received was something, they talked about this book called The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison and how it's award-winning, and how dare anybody talk about that book not being in schools. I don't know if Ken Ivory mentioned this to you, but I have read the rape scene in that book. It's a father raping his daughter, and it goes into detail, you know, how the father felt. It's not the daughter's perspective and how violated and hurt she felt. It's this guy's perspective of what desire he has for her, and it's disgusting, and it's sickening, and it makes you, as a mother, it makes me want to cry for what a poor, precious angel who was taken advantage of by her own father. So it's not just rape, but incest. And because it won awards, hey, this is great for our kids. No, I don't care what awards it's won. That just means that whoever's giving the awards,
who are the award winners?
That would be the people that that board member or that panel who voted for this book. Those would be the first people that I would say, you are either MAP or undercover pedophile. Because once you read the scene and a man is molesting his own daughter, there's nothing rewarding about that but a bullet.
No, right.
A
And
bullet,
what
maybe.
academic benefit does that have for anybody?
Yeah. What's the
Well,
point
you know,
of it?
she was saying this is a book that talks about racism and whatever. And I'm like, you know, in my opinion, even an adult shouldn't be reading that. But under no circumstances should that be available to minors.
Of any age.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to read it. And I read it because
we're trying to make sure it's valid that we're making this argument.
Yeah.
We have all these parents who are like, no, you're making a big deal. And then they go read the books and they go, whoa, I didn't know that that's what you were talking about.
And that's a problem with a lot of parents, though. They're willing to push back against you, but without doing any homework, because so-and-so said it's a great book. Well, so-and-so may be a pedophile.
And we trust our district leaders to make good decisions for our kids, which I'm like, I have done that in the past, but after I had this experience with what happened in Murray School District with the Equity Committee, we started asking questions, because we're like, we were getting answers that didn't match up to all of the government records that we got.
the grandma request.
The grandma requests, that we were like, wait a second, they said this and they did this totally opposite thing. And we tried to just make sure that we were very clear when we looked into it, that we were very objective and not emotional, though you do get emotional about it.
How could you not?
Exactly, yeah.
How could you not? And the problem is that those who are saying that you're book burners or book banners, they're not doing a damn thing. They're just listening to the media, they listen to the school board, listen to the principal, they listen to the superintendent, and they're taking their word as true, fair, you're insane, because you
And
don't.
then they target us instead of the message or what's really happening. They're like, you guys just don't trusting them, and we're like, well, I think we've lost trust.
Right, and I grew up in Murray, and I attended Murray School District from kindergarten to I graduated there my senior year, and I love Murray. I loved Murray District. My dad grew up in Murray too. I have a long, you know, I feel like it's a great community, and I loved it, and I was excited to put my kids in there in the Spanish program too because I speak Spanish. And so I was one of those parents, you know, I trust the administrators. I trusted the teachers. And until this happened, I was like, whoa. You know, you lost my trust. I know now that you lied to me. They literally lied to me. They told me, oh, Call Me Max is part of our Equity Book Bundles program, and it's appropriate, and it's wonderful, it's developmentally great for your kid. And then 2 weeks later, they came back and said, oh, no. That book wasn't part of the program. A child brought it in. And I'm like, okay, so which is the true story? And regardless of which one is true, you lied to me. And once you lie to me, you've lost my trust. And then we have parents who are still asking questions. I remember the name of the curriculum, it's Wit and Wisdom. Yep. So I have parents emailing in about Wit and Wisdom and, you know, how does this have critical race theory and whatever. And they're getting these emails back from the administrators who are saying, you just need to trust your teachers. Just trust our teachers. They're just doing great. You just need to put your trust in them. They are heroes. And I'm like, I've been lied to by these teachers. I've been lied to by these administrators. Trust doesn't come just because you say so. Mm-hmm. Trust is built. And especially when you've broken my trust, you better build it. And that's not what's happening right now. They're just telling you, just trust. They're amazing.
And what's crazy, and what's ironic is simply this. About every month and a half or so, you hear of a teacher getting arrested for,
or a school board member,
getting arrested for, I would say, fraternized with children. Because whether they're 17 and a half all the way down to 8 years old, they are still children. Yeah. They are minors. So, and these are the people that I worry about the most. These are the people that possibly, I had a conversation with Ken Harvey the other day. He was telling me that the school board district says, you know, I said to Ken, how do these books get in the classroom? Do they not review these books? And Ken said to me, he said, according to the schools, they can't read all the books that come in. Well, they should.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're making all the parents read them to take them out. So if that's not the case, that they can't read them when they bring them in, then we should be able to quickly remove them.
Exactly.
There's this bright line of if they can't read them, I don't know. Somehow they like to take it both ways and get away.
We don't have to read them to bring them in, but you got to read them to take it out.
And what Ken was telling me at some of the school board's meeting that he's gone to or people have attested to that, you know, the school board would say, no, we can't read that in here.
Yeah. Right.
Amongst a bunch of adults.
There's children in the room. We can't read that. Oh, well, that's the point. This is for children.
Exactly.
And we did have one of our representatives. One of our parents, Greg, wrote a letter saying, hey, we're really concerned about this being in our library. And she says, well, it's all okay. But she said, P.S., you might not want to send this over email because you could be charged with sending pornography over the internet. And we're like, that is the whole point, that this contains it and shouldn't be in our schools.
So is this is a House representative?
Yeah, Carol Spackman-Moss.
Oh, okay.
Who?
Carol Spackman-Moss.
I don't know her.
She represents like the Olympus area.
And Murray.
And Murray, yeah. House? I think
she's got to be House because I would know if she's in the Senate.
Yeah. Anyway, we could show you that email because we were just laughing that was her response. Don't send this because you could be charged for having pornography or sending pornography. And he's like, well, that's the whole point, that we don't think this belongs in schools, but if we can't send you an email about it without getting charged for it, then that's obviously having it in there.
I mean, Ken and I were talking, you know, he said, John, you know, if I took some of the stuff that I just showed you, that it was taken out of the school, and I would show it to a kid to myself personally, I would be charged with the crime.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so the stuff he showed me oh, you would be charged with the crime.
Yeah.
I mean, just exposing kids to pornography, because though it's a cartoon, or though it's drawn as a cartoon caricature, it's still doing what adults do
Yeah.
in the privacy of their bedroom.
Well, and one of the problems that I have is that one of my kids has had problems with overcoming pornography.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't talk about how it affects kids, that they are, like, it changes their brain and it makes them have the need to go back for more and more. And it's not okay. And nobody likes to have that. Well, it's very hard to get over. And I think that it's kind of sad that there isn't that concern. It's always just like parents are book banners instead of we're really caring about what our kids are exposed to at school. And if this is part of it, we need to be done.
Mm-hmm. You know, the reason why they push the tag book banners on you, because it makes you look like a villain. Mm-hmm. It makes it look like you're the one that's trying to hurt the children.
Yep.
You're not trying to protect the children. You're trying to hide things from the children, and you're the one that's hurting them. Now, at the same time, when somebody would call me a book banner, now I would have a book in my hand because I'm a face-to-face guy, and I'll just throw it right in front of him and say, "Now tell me, you tell me now. I assume you haven't." And that's what I want to do. I want to get the school board in the position where I can say, "Okay, now show me."
I did have a
Look at this.
I did have a fellow at I went to a senior center yesterday to just be a candidate and present myself, and he was kind of saying kids like to be a little bit deviant. He said when he was growing up, he brought a certain book into school and he thought it was really funny. And I said, I think there's a little bit of a difference with, I hadn't read the book that he mentioned, but I said, the difference is that these contain actual pornography in them. And so if that's the case, then I'm not for that. And if somebody is not okay with that, don't vote for me. But I feel like that's one of those things that I'm not okay with.
Well, and I think that illustrates the point that when they say context matters, the whole book, we all know that kids go and just look up certain things. Mm-hmm. Like when you're in elementary school, everybody looked up the word sex. Ooh, look at that. And,
mm-hmm.
My son was telling me how there was a statue of David and the kids were all looking at that like, oh, look, he's naked. Ha, ha, ha. Mm-hmm. You think the kids read the whole book? No. So when you tell me you got to take it in context, no, if there's porn, it's not context that matters. The porn needs to be out. And if a book has porn in it, bye-bye. It's gone. If a parent wants to teach that to their child, buy it from Amazon, take it home, and show your kids the naked child masturbating. You feel good about that. You show them that at home.
But here's the thing. If that parent was to do that at home with that same book, they would get charges. It's absolutely crazy nowadays. Yeah. It's absolutely crazy. It's kind of like, I hate to get off the subject. It's kind of like I'm a conservative, and most people know that, and everybody in La La Land knows that too. Like, for example, the abortion issue. A woman who has a baby who's pushing abortion and is going to tell you it's a clump of cells, that woman has issues. I do believe in their exemptions, some exceptions to the rule, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, when the mainstream people that are pushing this are talking about, oh, it's just a clump of cell. You're a woman. You've had 3 or 4 kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how you can.
How in the hell do you conceive that?
Yeah.
See, this is how people can talk themselves in doing things that they know is terrible.
Yeah.
They know it's terrible, but they want to go along with the team. Mm-hmm. They don't want to push back because they figure somebody will push back harder. Mm-hmm. That's what a fight is. That's what you do when you protect what you believe in.
Right.
And with our children, you push me when it comes to my kids, I'm going to knock the crap out of you. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to play this game with you when it comes to my daughters. I'm not going to play these games with you. And everybody knows that about me. And so when I speak out, I've gotten a little softer when I speak about certain issues because I hurt people's feelings. And so they want me to be a little soft. The hell with them. But the thing is, when it comes to my children and children in general, our job as men is to protect our women and our children, first and foremost.
Well, and one thing that I can't understand is how women can not want to protect their own children.
Right?
Right? Like when you as a society can tell parents that it's more important to do something else than to take care of your child that you had, there's something going on in our society, because children are important and they need guidance, and it takes a lot of time and work to get them to where they need to be as an adult. It's not an easy thing.
It takes us 18 years just to get them close to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And at that point, we're not perfect in our teachings. Because a part of that, they need to make up. We try to teach our kids the basic necessity of life: reading, writing, arithmetic, food, water, and shelter, and a job. Mm-hmm. And see, and nowadays it's no longer that anymore. My problem with these teachers nowadays, that the teachers that are actually teaching our children the stuff that we don't want our kids taught, they need to be locked up. I told Ken Harvey the other day, I said, Ken, you guys can write all the bills you want, and I'm sick of them. Because if it doesn't have any teeth, it does no good. There's no threat to the teachers. There's no threat to the schools.
Yeah.
My thing is simply this. When a CEO of a company runs a company into the ground, or he does bad things, he's fired. Even though he didn't do it directly, he is the CEO of that company. School boards should be ran the same way. If your kid is exposed to pornography, that man who's running that school district, his head needs to be cut off. Not literally. Well, okay.
Right, and like 20 years ago, that would have been what happened.
Exactly.
But now, society's progressed and everything's acceptable. But it's just gonna, if people, like she said, bright lines, if people don't hold the line, it's just gonna keep moving further and further. And so you hear these people who, let's just be a reasonable voice, let's just compromise. There are things that I will not compromise on.
My children's welfare is not one of those things. I'm sorry, people. Call me a dad. Call me crazy, but I draw the bright line in the sand, and and there's lines I won't cross, or I will cross when it comes to my children.
Right. I'll cross it for my child. I will fight for my children, but I'm not going to put them on the altar and be like, oh, I'll just compromise.
No.
Let them watch that. Let them see that. Teach them whatever you want.
Yeah,
whatever. I just want to be agreeable.
I just don't understand, as human beings, sometimes I say lionesses protect their cubs better than people do when it comes to their own children. Because that's the thing in the animal kingdom. They don't have to debate whether their cub is a cub. It is a cub, and they protect them to the death. There's no discussions about it. They fight. All they know is fight. We don't have that anymore. We believe it's easier just to get along and be marshmallows and try to keep the peace. Even though they're coming after our kids, we're still supposed to be quiet and play nice. I don't know about you guys. I truly believe our job is to protect our children with the last fiber in our body.
Right. That's what you live for, your children.
Exactly.
And that's one reason I'm running, is because I feel like I'm in a position where I can actually stand up for kids. I don't have kids in school where someone can come back and retaliate. I think that's one thing that people are worried about, is that if they say stuff, that they'll come back and affect their children who are in their classrooms.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I have 6 little kids. My oldest is 10 and my youngest is 8 months old. So I'm not in the best position of life to be running for school board. And I asked other people to run. Please run. Can you stand up for this? They don't want to do it, or they're too busy or whatever. And so I finally was like, fine, I'll do it. And it's not the best time of life for me, but it's important enough for me. And I took my kids out and I'm homeschooling, but there's hundreds and thousands of other kids who need someone to stand up for them. And when you know that children are that's the treasure of our society, our children. then it's worth the sacrifice to stand up. And a lot of people, they're just like, well, I'll just take my kids out. Obviously, I took my kids out. I still think it's important to stand up for everyone.
Because there's a lot of people that I call sleepers. There's a lot of parents who are sleepers. They're sleepers. They take their kids, they drop them off to school, and they know nothing else about their kids until they get home. And from 3:30 in the afternoon until bedtime, that's when they know their child. Mm-hmm. So there's 6-7 hours a day. You don't know your child. You don't know what your child's been taught. You don't ask questions of what your child is being taught. You don't look on your Chromebook and see what your kid's looking at on their Chromebook. Those sleepers are the ones that will tell you, I have a great kid. They're not reading that stuff in their school. It's because your kid's not telling and you're not asking the questions. And these schools are counting on that. This curriculum they want to keep private because they want to corrupt your child's mind. You mentioned pornography. Pornography is one of the few things that you can visualize and it's etched in your brain from the first viewing. Yeah. And people don't understand that. It stays in your brain. You can try to get it out all you want. It'll sometimes you'll make reference to that visual when you think. And that's the thing with children. This is why we teach our kids at an early age reading, writing, and arithmetic, because they retain it a lot better when they're younger. I'm old right now. I can barely remember day to day. But my 10-year-olds can tell me what I forgot 2 days ago. And so that's why it's so important that we put things in our children's minds and that they can retain that's healthy for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This other crap that's going on, I'm not for it at all. I'll never be for it. I'll keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting. And there's a lot of things I fight for. But my children and the other kids, I truly believe it's our job as me as a male, for example. I believe it's my job to protect my children and our females. That's what I truly believe as a man. Now, we're not perfect, but a man should know what he needs to do as a man and be good providers. And I'm not speaking from a spiritual sense. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking from a man's sense. My dad grew up, he was a man's man. Mm-hmm. He made sure there was food on the table. We had our butts in school every day, and they didn't have to worry about this when we were in school. Yeah. This stuff is new. The predators are slowly coming out because they become bolder now because the world now is a bunch of pansies.
Well, and I think they've been prepping. The more that I've looked into things, it's been prepped for a while. And that I think COVID was that's something we learned that was kind of the window of now it's time to.
It was a gateway.
It was a gateway.
They straight up said that.
They said that in all the stuff that we had looked into, that this is the time to make the biggest change on our education system. And
right. And when you said you're not even speaking from a spiritual perspective, I think that's interesting because that's one of the things I found in this whole battle is people come from so many different backgrounds and they're against this. If you see it as a Democrat versus Republican issue, and sometimes it can be, mm-hmm. but there's a lot of liberals who say, with this stuff. No. Listen to Bill Maher,
Oh, yeah.
He's a major Democrat, but totally against all this.
He absolutely is.
Because he sees it for what it is.
He's honest about it, though.
Right,
that's the thing. He's not allowing himself to be put in the dark closet and just keeping his mouth shut.
Right.
And he doesn't have kids either.
Mm-hmm. Unlike Brett
He's
Weinstein.
an atheist.
Brett Weinstein,
he was really liberal.
Atheist. Super liberal, right? James Lindsay's one of my favorite people. You met him too.
I know James.
So he says he's more agnostic now, but he was an atheist. Mm-hmm. Azra Namani, she's one of my heroes. I think she's Muslim.
She's Muslim.
Right. And
I'm
my
Muslim.
husband met you're Muslim
I'm
too?
Muslim.
Right. So my husband met some Middle Eastern people, and he was passing out my flyers, and they were like, "What does your wife stand for? Is she teaching this identity stuff, or she?" And my husband's like, "Well, she's against that." Like, okay, how can we sign up? We want to vote for her. So I mean, and obviously, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so, but people try to make this like, "Oh, you just want to bring your church into the schools," or you just, and I'm like, no. There are so many people from so many backgrounds, and they are against this stuff. It is not a church versus anti-church thing. It's not a Democrat versus Republican thing. This is about reality and truth versus fantasy and lies. And there's a lot of people on all sides of all aisles who see the truth for what it is, and they're standing up.
And and go ahead, Laurel.
Well, I've been thinking about this for a long time, in that one of the things that we should be teaching in our schools is these universal truths that bring success to kids. Teaching them honesty, teaching them hard work, teaching them dedication, all those things. They're things that everyone agrees on bring success to children, right? So this is something that I'm like, this whole victim side of things does not bring success to children. It actually makes them feel like they don't have control over their life and that they can't make decisions that they can be successful when they feel victimized.
Right, they feel the responsibility for their success is on the system. So you better make me successful. If I fail, that's your fault.
Right. Well, ladies, listen, we have a few minutes left. Look, I want people to know who you are, know your district, know how they can vote for you. So, April, I'll let you tell people how to get in touch with you and then follow you. Do you have a website?
Yeah.
Or they can donate to your campaign?
Yeah, so my website is aprilformurray.com. That's Murray, Murray. I'm on Facebook under April Wild Despain, and I'm on Instagram under April for Murray. And there is I think the Venmo and a PayPal donate button on my website if you want to donate. But so I'm running for Murray School Board District 3.
Laurel?
Yeah, I'm Laurel Fetzer. I'm running for the State School Board in District 5. My website is votelaurel.org, and I have an email that is voteforlaurel@gmail.com. I have a Facebook page that's Laurel Fetzer. It's a public-facing page. But yeah, I have a Venmo and a PayPal on my website if they want to donate. But we would love it if you would support us, and if you agree with us, to vote for us in November.
Yep, get registered and vote. And I forgot to say aprilformurray@gmail.com if you want to email me.
That's like Murray the city, right?
Murray.
Murray.
Yep.
That bad school. But
The
ladies,
district needs some help.
I appreciate you coming on. And I had stated earlier, when you guys win, I want you back on the show.
Cool.
And
Will
then
do.
we'll have a
you for
big old
having us.
celebration. And by that time, we'll have all the quirks worked out of our system. And I promise you, it will be heard by many and retained by plenty. And for that matter, my name is John Harvey, guys. Hey, look, I'm sorry. I've been gone for
3 months.
3
4
months. I probably have 400 emails asking me, did the liberals get to me? No, I'm still here. I'm here. I'll be back next Monday at 6:30 p.m. And I enjoy being your host. My name is John Harvey, and I'm the Modern Conservative Podcast. You guys take care.